I have an article right now from the New York Times. After the London attack, the Prime Minister says enough is enough. I look at that and I think, man, maybe this means that Theresa May is going to get serious and start to crack down on terrorism in her country. I mean, this could be a really good thing. That's what I thought. But I read through it, and as far as I can tell, that's not really the case. So, Prime Minister Theresa May vowed on Sunday to conduct a sweeping review of Britain's counterterrorism strategy. Again, that sounds great. That sounds like a great thing. Maybe she's going to go and get tough on terrorism. Like we have in America, kind of, because we have a president who's on board with keeping us safe, but we have courts that, for some reason, don't. Makes you wonder why, but whatever. Let's just forget about that for now. And also like they have in Eastern Europe, say what you want about Eastern Europe, but they know how to handle this kind of thing way better than Western Europe does. I mean, in Britain and in France, the terror attacks, I mean, they're letting them turn their countries into police states. People on the left always like to talk about police states. They like to talk about our police, the militarized police force. We're turning into a police state, and you know what? I see what they mean. I see where they're coming from. It makes sense, and it's something that I myself am worried about. So that's what's going to happen now in Britain, because what we have here, they're going to be cracking down on the internet. Theresa May says that the internet and social media is a good breeding ground and a safe place for terrorism to spread. Now look it. Is that true? There's some truth to that, She's got a point. But here's the thing. Europe doesn't exactly have a good record when it comes to internet freedom and internet privacy. I mean, Britain is the place where you can get locked up for hate speech online. And don't even get me started with Sweden. Sweden has their brand new hate list out, where they try and name these bigots, and they try and shame them in public for having views that go against their whole narrative. That's why I'm not totally on board with this. And it makes sense when you first hear it. When you hear like, oh yeah, the internet. Well, terrorists can sort of they have the internet. They use it as a tool. They use it to recruit. They use it to plan. And we need to stop it. And I get it. We need to stop it. But here's the thing: we can't trust the people in Europe. Not people in Europe. I mean European leaders with this kind of thing, because we've seen what happens. I mean, I have a story later down the line that's Germany. Germany and Merkel and the EU in general, they love to put pressure on social media sites like Twitter and Facebook to crack down on hate speech. Hate speech. What is hate speech? Well, they don't really say. They say, it's offensive and it's dangerous and it's bigoted and it's Islamophobic. But what does that mean? We don't know what that does mean. So they say that, and it's a broad term. It could apply to absolutely anything. Like, what's gonna stop you if you're a social media site and you just have a broad rule against no hate speech? Anything could be hate speech. You can take offense to absolutely anything. You can be offended by anything, as long as you put your mind to it. As long as you're creative enough, you can come up with a way that absolutely anything could be offensive. So this power is just not a good thing, and you already see it with Twitter. Twitter rules used to be very nice and clear. No death threats, no pornography, stuff like that. No explicit content. Okay, fine, makes sense, But then they changed their rules, and now their rules are vague, and they don't really explain anything, and they sort of like assume that, if someone accuses you, it's guilty until proven innocent, and it's, you offended somebody, and even if you didn't mean to, they were offended, so it doesn't matter. But that's giving people too much power to just say, hey, he offended me, ban him. And we see that happening. We see it happening now, and if we give the governments in Europe, and even in America too, more power to control the internet and social media, then it's just not going to end well. And there's already been, May is calling on the community, the global community, to help her out in cracking down on the internet. and internet freedom, pretty much. I mean, let's just say what it is. It's internet freedom that they're gonna crack down on. They say it's security, but usually whenever there's security and they say, oh, it's just security, don't even, why are you freaking out? It's just security. It's usually because it's an invasion of freedom. Anyway, what else do we have here? Also in the same article, May, she says that this is a perversion of Islam. It's not Islam itself, it's a perversion of Islam. Well, there we go. This is exactly what happens when it comes to Europe and when it comes to Democrats here, and a lot of Republicans as well, don't get me wrong. But they just say, oh, it's not the religion. It's nothing to do. It's a religion of peace. It's a religion of peace. It's just a perversion of the religion. And they say that, and they try and do their fake outreach. They try and do their, oh, we stand with the community. We stand with the community against terrorism. And what happens? Nothing changes. Nothing changes at all. So what happens is, you see what's going on with May, saying it's a perversion of Islam and not Islam itself, not naming the problem. That's dangerous, because when you can't even name the problem, how are you going to fix it? If you can't even acknowledge what the problem is, how are you going to fix it? See, that's the thing. That's what Trump understood. Trump understood that, look, the Middle East, look, when it comes to Muslims that have been living here for a long time, look it, I got nothing against them. But when it comes to the Middle East, they do things differently than we do here. Like, people don't understand that. People think that, oh, Western values are worldwide. They're not. They're really not. And I mean, I know that for a lot of people that's just common sense, but you go to the Middle East and a lot of people don't understand that. People think that, oh, well, a majority of Muslims are, moderates, and it's just like a small percentage. And yes, it's a minority, but the percentage is significant enough that there's just too much of a danger, man. I mean, I don't want to bring up the old M&M's, what was it, Skittles analogy, where it's like, oh, if you have 100 of them and one of them's poisoned, were you going to take the risk? I don't want to use that, but it's valid. It is valid. Because let's be honest, I mean, when it comes to this attack, and also, absolutely hilarious how the media likes to sort of pretend like, oh, maybe this isn't terrorism. Maybe we don't know if this is terrorism or not. We're not really sure yet. We have to wait and find out. Come on, it's terrorism. Just let's be honest. As soon as this came out, everyone knew. No matter how much you want to say, oh, I wait for the facts, I wait for everything to come out. Everyone knew it was terrorism. Let's just be honest. I mean, how often does it come out where there's a story about something like this, like an attack or a shooting or anything like that, and they say, oh, hang on, let's wait for the facts? How often is it not terrorism? How often? I mean, sure, a couple of times, maybe it does happen, maybe they are right, but that's very, very rare. I mean, it happens every time there's an attack. The media says, oh, hang on guys, hang on, oh, terrorism, we don't know yet, we're not sure. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? Nobody knows. People know. People know what it is. Also, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, heightening the police presence. That's great. Just what we need, right? This guy, Sadiq Khan, is apparently like a big left-wing kind of guy. But no, police state, police state, whatever. It's for security. It's for safety. That's what they always say. I thought that was a bad excuse. Back when the NSA was coming out back in the day, you still remember, Democrats, they all said, oh, invasion of privacy. You can't cut civil liberties in the name of security. And they were right. They were absolutely right. But now, what's going on now? It's just completely gone the other way. And now I know that, not Democrats, leftists in Europe and Britain are different than Democrats here. But I mean, come on now. I mean, it should be a similar ideology, but no, it's not. And look, if it was temporary, I'd be totally fine. If it was just a temporary thing, more police for the time being, I'd be fine with it. But it's very rare that that's the case. It's very rare because they always say, oh, we need it for security, it'll be temporary, it'll be fine, don't worry. And then what happens? The threat goes away, but the police presence doesn't. That's what happens right now in France. Paris, by the way. Did you guys know Paris is like a total war zone? Not a war zone. That's not what I was trying to say. It's not a war zone, but it's definitely no longer a vacation spot. You wouldn't want to be in Paris right now because it is locked down. You want to go to the Eiffel Tower, it's like trying to get into an airport in this country. You have to go through so many searches, so many checks. It's ridiculous. This didn't happen too long ago. A few years ago, that wouldn't happen. You would have been able to get in easy. But now, because of the terrorism, now is all searches, seizures, everything. It's ridiculous. And it's because this is their response. Because they're so afraid to just name the problem and just name what's wrong and why this is happening. They're so afraid to do that because if they do, they get called Islamophobes. Well, the time for worrying about that is over. People are going to call me an Islamophobe. I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. It's words. It's words versus actual harm being done to people. They want to call me whatever they want to call me. They want to call them whatever they want to call them. But you shouldn't let that fear override your logical sort of thinking and your ability to keep your own country safe. That's ridiculous. That's what happens. They don't know how to... They don't know how to just say, you want to call me an Islamophobe? I don't care. So what? I'm trying to keep my country safe. You want to call me whatever, you want to call me a racist, you want to call me a bigot, you want to call me whatever? Fine. Doesn't mean a thing to me. Why can't people just say that? Why is it so hard to find people saying that? At least Donald Trump, say what you want about the man. At least he had the guts to come out and say, hey, look, Islam's a problem. Let's be honest. Islam is a bit of a problem right now for us, and we're gonna need to tighten our security and sort of, we're gonna need the travel ban. And look, you want to call me an Islamophobe, you want to call me a racist, you want to call me a bigot, you call me whatever you want to call me, that's fine. I'll do it. I'll do my policies anyway. Why can't we have that same kind of bravery in Europe? Why not? And how come it's only confined to Eastern Europe and Russia? Democrats, they talk about Russia, but how come we can't have that sort of thing everywhere? Why can't we have that in Britain? Why can't we have that in France? Why is it only in Poland? Why can't we have it in Sweden? Why can't we have it in Germany? Why is it confined to these sort of countries? And at least America is getting on board now, but it's ridiculous that it's come to this. And this is where we're at now, where we have 2 attacks within weeks in the same country. It's ridiculous.